Hello everyone, welcome back to Beadly Speaking Jewelry. This is Dyon Davidson. I'm so excited about this week's guest. Michelle and I go a little ways back.
Oh, it's been a minute.
Let me move this back a little bit. So we met probably back in 2001, Michelle?
Yeah, that sounds about
No, wait,
right.
2011. I'm sorry, 2011.
Yeah, 2011, that makes sense.
At a networking event. And then we found out they were actually more closely related in a way. And we'll get into that in a few minutes. So Michelle, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for inviting me.
You're welcome. So Michelle is here because she's going to be talking about alopecia.
Yes.
And even though it's not considered to be part of the lupus family, it's still some of the symptoms that our lupus warriors deal with. And I wanted her to come on and give us some insights because she has actually been a warrior in that department, and she has some great information that she can share and help everybody with when it comes to hair loss. And she's been so bold about it that I'm so excited. So tell us when all of this started. Like, when did you start having issues with hair loss, and like how did you deal with it initially?
So, it's really interesting. Even when you just said that, you said, like, when did you start dealing with it? I'm thinking now, I want to say back in the early 90s, I remember I would have like hair loss. Like I would go to the hairdresser and they're like, what's going on? You have a spot of hair missing here. Or then we'd grow that back and then there'd be another spot over on this side. But I never paid it much attention.
That's interesting. Yeah. Right.
I never paid much attention. And then like the hairdresser, when I got married, back in like 94, I remember she was like, okay, so what's going on? Why do you have this bald spot right here? And I'm like, I don't know. And she's like, are you stressed? Are you depressed? Are you this? And I'm like, I just got married. Like, this is the most fantastic time of my life. What are you talking about?
You're living your best life.
I live my best life. I don't know what you're talking about. So she would try different treatments and different things, and it would grow back, and I just went on about my merry way. But I also was reflecting the other day because I do remember during that time, I thought I just had a scalp condition.
Right.
Because I would always have soreness in my scalp, like right here. So she would wash my hair. Back then we would do all of our relaxers and perms and all the chemicals and stuff. And I remember this spot was always more sensitive. So after she finished doing everything, I would go home and it would be tender. And then as time went on, it would actually literally be stinging, or what is the word? It's not even like it's pussy, but it was just it was weepy almost.
So kind of soft.
Yeah, and even damp sometimes too. And this is when my hair is fully dried. I've been under the dryer, my hair is dry, everything else is dry, but right here
still
would be soft. But again, I never really paid much attention to it. What I did instead was she would always treat my hair. Back then she would put sea breeze on my scalp and do all these different things. And
I've been through that too.
Yeah, do you remember that? And I actually liked the sea breeze because it felt tingly and it felt good. So I just didn't really think
oh
much.
My gosh.
I never thought much about it. I honestly didn't think anything about it. Let's fast forward maybe about 6 or 7 years later. My mother came to visit me. My parents live in Canada, and my parents came to visit me. My mom was like, wow, like your hair has thinned out a lot. I didn't even notice till she said so. Oh my God. Never noticed. Had my hair, I think I wore my hair in a bob at the time and just never paid it attention because all I saw was hair. I just never realized that it had thinned out. But my mom, of course, being my mother, knows me. She knows. And
yeah, that's our moms. They see and notice stuff about us that we sometimes don't pay attention to.
Exactly. And she was used to me having long, thick hair. So she's looking at me like, no, like your hair's thinned out. So a few months later, I remember I went to a hairdresser and I was never consistent with going to the hairdresser.
Right.
And I think it may be, correct me if I'm wrong, but maybe be part of our Jamaican heritage.
Oh, we forgot to mention that. That was the connection that I didn't quite get into that year. We're from Yard.
Who's Yardis? So I thought maybe it's because of that, because most of the people that I knew, we always did our own hair. It was like, it was a certain time, like, okay, we're going to wash our hair. It was a whole experience, and we did our own hair. So when I moved to Baltimore and everybody was getting their hair done, I'm like, what is this? Like, this is so cool.
We take care of our own hair.
We take care of our own hair. Yeah. So I was never really consistent. I would go, I started going to the hairdresser with my sister-in-law. It was something that we did together. That was our time together. But then we kind of fell off as time went on, and I started doing my own thing. So
busy schedules, things happen.
So after my mom said that, like I said, I went to that hairdresser appointment, and she was kind of going through my hair. She's asking me different questions, but I never went back to her. And I think a lot of it had to do with, at the time, I might have been totally in my feelings about something totally different. I don't even remember what was going on, but I remember being really sad that day, and it really bothered me that day. And then after that, I never went back to her, but I started looking for different solutions. I did go and talk to a doctor one time, but all she said to me was, stop putting relaxers in your hair. And back then, that was like a whole foreign concept to me. Like,
nobody was
girls
doing
weren't,
this.
yeah, they weren't doing this. They weren't rocking their natural back then. So I was looking at her like she had lost her ever-loving mind. Like, I'm not going to stop putting a relaxer. You see my nappy hair? Like, I'm not going to do that. And so I didn't really listen to her. I just went on with life. But then it eventually got to the point where I definitely was seeing the difference. We were always constantly trying to put it in different hairstyles to hide and to hide the
I think that's something we do a lot, because like I was telling you, when my locks were falling out, I shaved the back, and then I had the whole, you know, I had my length, so it was like it would hide the parts that fell out that was, you know, thinning.
Yeah, and that was the thing. So I would hide it with different hairstyles, but then and I think one of the hairstyles I used a lot was, I used to do a lot of updos and stuff. So of course you can hide it that way, because you pull your hair up and you got, I had thickness in the back, thinning out in the top. So you can always pull it up and cover it. But then I used to like to get wraps a lot. So I used to get the wraps, and that's going to make your hair look thinner anyways, because that was the point of the wrap. It was that smooth, sleek look. But I noticed it just didn't have the body. So sometimes we would use traps. You know, we were always doing creative different things to hide it. Then I got to the point where I don't think financially, we didn't have the money for me to go to the hairdressers on a regular basis. And to me, my priority is always my babies. So I'm like making sure they're fed and they're clothed.
Kids come first.
Right. So then I wasn't worrying about me. I would like, you know, I wash my hair myself. And then I started getting into, well, what if I wear this little wig here? Or I started with the little half wigs. So I would try to, like, again, camouflage it by wearing the little half wigs, and I started trying to learn how to blend and all of that fun stuff. But then fast forward, I finally got to the point where I had lost so much hair, I couldn't camouflage it anymore.
Wow.
I couldn't do that. So I had to, like before, where I was wearing wigs for fun or something different, just to give a, you know, thicken it up or wear something different. Right. I actually had to get to the point where it's like, for me, I felt like I had no choice but to wear a wig. And so then I just started doing I forgot, I skipped the whole ponytail phase. So I used to wear my hair up always in a ponytail.
I think everybody had that ponytail phase too.
It's a ponytail up high.
That probably would make my locks even weaker, stretching up in a
ponytail. Exactly. So I used to do that all the time, but always trying to find a way to cover and camouflage. And then finally I got to the point where I discovered lace front wigs. I was like, why didn't anybody tell me about this world before? They were more comfortable to me. They looked more natural to me. And also, my husband even would compliment me and say, oh, I think I like those. He didn't know what they were called, but he was like, I like those type of wigs. So I think you should wear that kind of wig.
So he kind of knew what was coming next, the next phase, even though he didn't know what it was called per se.
He was like, I like those ones. But you know, I started getting really, well, let me back up a little bit. Somewhere in there, I did go back and forth to hairdressers. And one of the hairdressers that I went to at the time was my niece. And we were going to try a treatment. And she was like, I'm going to try to help your hair grow back. She's very good at dealing with natural hair and help making your hair healthy. But she didn't really know a lot about alopecia or hair loss. But she was doing her little research and trying to find some things. And the most important part to me, and I think this is a very pivotal point, is that she said, okay, I want to pray before we do your hair. And I was like, okay. So one of the words that stick out to me to this day is that she prayed over me that I would not lose my self-esteem over losing my hair. And I will truly say, it was really like, at the time, it was like, oh, okay. But later, as I really think about it, when I really talk to other women who have suffered or are suffering through what I've suffered through, how it hasn't really affected me that much, to them it has been like totally life-changing. And so I really sit there and I really, even now I go back to her and I said, do you remember when you did this? And she was like, Auntie, like I just did it. I didn't even think about it. And I didn't realize
it didn't have that impact on her that it had on you.
Exactly. But I really can say I didn't really struggle with it too much after that. I just always found ways to cover it or work with it. And then got to the point where I started, you know, doing my own business and making my own wigs.
And that's the part that I've been trying to get to, because now Honey Girl makes her own wigs. And the crazy thing is, a few years ago, my cousin from Canada came to visit. and I hadn't seen my cousin in a while. It's my dad's oldest brother's oldest child. So he comes to visit, and he said that he was going to church like a few blocks up from my parents' house.
I forgot about that.
I was like, how you come from Canada going to church up the street? Like, dude, I ain't never been to the church up the street. What is that about? And he was like, yeah, my friend Michelle goes to church up there. I was like, Michelle Johnson? He was like, yeah, you know Michelle? I was like, yeah, I know Michelle. How do you know Michelle?
Right, coming from Canada.
I was like, you done came all the way from Canada to Baltimore, and you know my friend Michelle? He was like, I've known Michelle longer than you. And I was like, now we're fighting over Michelle. So it was just so funny to make that connection, to know somebody that is in my family knew you, and they've known you for so long. And I was like, wow. So when he connected us, like, I felt like he reconnected us, because we haven't really
seen each other for
we hadn't seen each other for a while. We hadn't spoken, and then from there we kind of reconnected, and just watching your journey on Facebook. And I still wasn't paying attention because I was going through all my stuff with lupus and everything else. And then all of a sudden, Michelle posted this thing on Facebook where she was bald, and I was like, wait a minute, when this happened? I was like. And she was like, yeah, I make my own wigs. And I was like, what? Wait, back it all the way up. I totally missed this. Like, I need to sit down with her and find out more about the situation, because so many of you have reached out and asked questions, you know, do I know anybody who make wigs? And I'm like, no, I don't. And now I do.
Now you do.
So tell us about this wig making process. How are you, how a customer is able to get the wigs from you, and like, are they custom made? You know, do they have input on the designs? Like, tell us all about that process.
Sure. So, like I said, when I got to the point of when I couldn't camouflage it anymore, then I'm like, okay, I can wear wigs. And I think that's one of the things that helped me. Like, I felt like we live in a world where there's hair literally being sold in every corner. So as long as I can buy hair, I'm good. Like, I'm fine. I can make a way.
I even thought about getting me a wig for the winter. But anyway, go ahead, child.
You know, I can hook you up. And I'm so grateful to God for a mother who taught me how to sew. I'm grateful for the fact that where I was raised, when we were in middle school, we had home economics, and we had these tools.
I missed that part.
Yeah, I missed that part. Like, I look at my daughter like, they're not teaching you guys how to do this stuff? You know, my mom had a sewing machine, and we were always, I mean, I was never a seamstress. Like, I did make a couple of dresses, but I was never like the best. But there's certain tools and things that I don't even think about it, because I learned how to do this as a child. And I say that to say that what would happen is, when I didn't have the finances to always buy the wigs the way that I wanted, and actually that's not even it. Sometimes I could afford to buy wigs, but I didn't like the way they fit me, or I didn't like the way that they didn't. I always feel like if you're gonna wear a wig, it should look as natural as possible.
Right.
People should not be, okay, I can be dramatic. So I can be like this today, and tomorrow come in with the blonde wig down to my butt. So of course I would think you would know that that was not my hair. I would think that, you know, that would be a clue. But I would do that. I don't care. But I always feel as though if I'm going to wear a wig, I don't think you should stand all the way across the room and be like, dang, that wig is, wow, that's a wig. Like, I feel like it should be natural. Even if you're gonna be big and dramatic and bold, if you're gonna do different colors, whatever, I feel like there should at least be, for me, this is my personal feeling, a mirage of that is her hair. She's walking in it. She's like embracing it.
You own it,
Yeah, you're owning it. And so what I started out on the quest of how can I do this myself? And so I actually used to switch back and forth between quick weaves and wigs a lot. I used to just always change. But I honor my sister, because my sister one day said to me, well, why don't you go on YouTube? She said, I see stuff on YouTube all the time. So I am a graduate of YouTube University. I would go on YouTube, and that's where I learned about how to make lace front wigs, how to sew them, how to create them, and things of that nature. So I'm saying all of this to say, for me, I looked at it like it's a no-brainer. Like, what is the big deal? And also, I was kind of cheap too. I felt like if I'm gonna put out $200-300 for a wig, because that was the kind of wig I wanted to wear, then it's gonna be the way I want it to be. And I found that I don't think I've ever paid $300 for a wig, but when I found that I bought like a wig for $150 or something like that, it was still doing stuff not the way that I wanted it.
Oh,
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So then I found that if I made my own thing, then if it's not lying down the way I want it, or if it's not the color, I can fix it. I can recreate. So that's how I started doing it. The other thing too, for me, it's always been my way to express myself. to express how I'm feeling. I've always had that artsy side in me, but I tend to lean more towards the conservative and the straight-laced and the walk this narrow path and do it this way. So for me,
the creative spirit,
right? So then finally I was able to create through my hair, and I'm not gonna lie, I loved having the reactions from people. I loved walking across. I work at a university, and I love walking across campus and people looking at me and going, "Oh, it is Michelle." Like, I loved it. Like, nobody knew what to expect. Well, what is she gonna look like this week? And like, every time I see you, you look like a whole different person. I love the reaction because I just think it's comical. But yeah, so that's how I got into making the wigs.
Wow.
It's a matter of me, partly at the time, kind of being, I think I can find that hair and do it myself and be more economical with it.
Right.
And then also just being able to have a creative outlet. But then I soon found out that other people wanted wigs. Well, first of all, people would approach me and say, "Who does your hair?"
Right. Okay. So then that's when you were like, "Oh, I did."
Yeah, I did. And then they would look at me like I had two heads. Like, "What do you mean you did?" Or when I would say, "Well, you know, this is a wig, I did da-da-da," they're like, "That's not your hair." And again, that's when I look at them like, last week I had long blonde hair. Today I have a short black hair. Like, what are you not getting?
Right.
But again, hey,
and different people, I don't think they really study or pay attention to your appearance sometimes. So it's like, oh, okay.
So they're like, "Oh, okay." But when more and more people I kept talking to, and they're like, "That is not your hair," and they're like, even if I'm talking to someone trying to sell to them the fact that I make wigs, and I said, "You know, I made wigs. I made this wig. I mean, whatever wig I'm wearing, I'm like, I made this wig." They would look at me like, until you said it, I never knew. So then it was like a light bulb went off, like, oh, I have something here. But also, I did have a situation where I got laid off from my job. Okay. I got laid off from 2 different jobs. And when the second time when I got laid off, one of my girlfriends said to me, "You really need to push your wigs business. You need to make it a business." See, I didn't take it seriously. I looked at it like this. If I can make it, you can make it. Why would you want me?
You were doing it more as something for yourself to provide for your care, not necessarily as a business.
Right.
But as you soon found out that there were more people in your situation who that was a need that you had to fill. Yeah. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted you to come on, because I come across a lot of people who have been diagnosed with lupus, and like I told you, like all around here, especially in the fall, my hair would come out and then my skin would start to peel all the way down to my forehead. I mean, I'm a little fair skinned, so when it starts to peel off and it gets redder and lighter than this, it's very noticeable. So I had that problem for years before I was diagnosed.
Wow.
So when I was finally diagnosed, I felt a sense of relief because people weren't as scornful. And I don't know if you remember when I shaved my head, so I had no hair. So for a while, I felt some sense of relief not having that. And I wanted to try the whole wig thing, but I was like, I ain't going to find a wig that looks right on me. But knowing that you had that experience, and you're like, well, I'm going to do the wig that looks just right for me, I think that's a comfort to other people who might feel like, well, I want to buy a wig, but I don't know what's going to look good on me. And knowing that the person who's making the wigs have that intention in mind, that might be some type of comfort for them.
And I think so. And I mean, you had asked even earlier about customization and stuff like that, and that's definitely what I feature on. So to me, what I feel makes me stand out from, anyone could go into a beauty store and pick up a wig. I've done it several times. I don't knock any of it because, well, I knock some of the wigs, but I don't knock any of it because definitely, especially depends where you are in your life and where you are financially. Right. Because I'm not going to lie, I'm not going to make a wig for $30. I'm not going to even make a wig for $50 because it costs to make these things. It costs, the materials cost a lot of money, and especially, the world of supply and demand. Now, because people are buying here so much, then I noticed that wigs that I used to be able to make for $20 a few years back, the same here, all they did was change the package, but the same brand, everything is twice the amount of what it was before. And we're not talking about the virgin hair that came from somebody's head. You're talking about the blended fake yucky hair.
And see, I don't know nothing about any of that, so I could be taken advantage easily. So I'm just like, I don't even dive into that market
easily. Well,
at all.
Because I even used to buy, when I first started buying wigs, not making them yet, but buying my own wigs, I would spend $80, $100 on a wig, and after 1 week, I couldn't wear it anymore because it had tangled up so much.
I'm sorry for my facial expression changing on y'all. I guess because I don't know how that works. What you mean 1 week, $100?
1 week. I would spend $100 on a wig and it would be beautiful. Like the picture would be beautiful. I would get it. It would be beautiful. I'd put it on. I'm loving it. And then by the end of the week, you can see how like the ends of it had frizzed up and matted up. And I would cut that off and cut it. And by the time I turned around, I might have had a wig down here. In 2 weeks, it's probably up here because after a while, I would just cut it off. And so my whole point was that, you know, I'm like, well, if I'm paying $100 for a wig and it's messing up like that, I know I can make the same wig for more affordable. So that's what I strove for myself. But now I'm finding that I've done my research and I bought enough stuff to be able to find hair that lasts longer.
Okay,
that if you are going to pay $150 for a wig, I'm like, come to me. I'll make you something that that will last longer. That's my whole thing. Is I don't want to sell you a wig for $100 and next week you turn around. I'm like, well, what happened to your wig? And you're like, oh, I had to throw that out, Michelle. It wasn't worth it. To me, I don't feel like I'm providing you the value or the service.
Right.
And
that's so important for people to understand that you're getting your money's worth. You don't want to feel like you're buying something and on top of dealing with a condition with your hair and like, you know, not get your money's worth. Right.
And then the other thing that you have to look at when it comes to customization. So here's the thing. I think, especially if you're going through lupus, alopecia, cancer treatments, I think you're dealing already with the fact that you're having hair loss. In some cases, may even be a permanent hair loss. But you don't, when you're in your personal time and you look in the mirror and you don't have any hair, you're already like, who is this person in the mirror? I don't recognize this person, right? So I feel as though that if I'm going to bring a wig into your life, I want you to look in the mirror and be like, that looks like me. Or that looks like the me that I've always wanted to look like. Whatever the case you may be, because you might decide to stay with what you're used to, or you might decide, well, I'm going to venture, like me, you know, I want to
feel comfortable with whatever you're wearing. And I think that's the point. Like, why I never got one, because I was like, I don't want to buy something and don't look like myself. Or look like a version of me that looks better. You know, everybody can always look better. Don't ever think that you all that in a bag of chips and ain't no room for improvement.
There's always room for improvement.
Let's be real.
Yes, exactly.
But I mean, in moving forward, I want people to feel comfortable with, like I talked about on another episode where someone was like, you know, you got to be comfortable with where you are and what the diagnosis is. And that's a hard place to get to. But in getting there, especially when it comes to hair, because so much of it is so much attachment to it, we want to feel comfortable, like, you know, this is the diagnosis, but how can I move on from it? And I'm so proud of you for, you know, accepting the situation for what it is, but not just staying stagnant and building a brand from that and, you know, turning that into something positive that can help other people in that situation. Part of that journey has actually helped me. You know, when I saw that, I was like, wow, I can't believe, you know, I was tripping, because when I saw my hair was starting to fall out again right around here. So when I saw that, I was like, hey, you tripping over your little sides going out? She lost all of it. And so I was like, it really helped me to refocus on, you know, I was like, you lost a whole lot of hair before. You tripping over your sides going out. And it just helped me to refocus. So,
and I think also too, I mean, if I might add to that, the blessing has been, like first of all, a few years back, I got the idea to do that. I got the idea of like, you know, I was calling myself a model. Okay. I shouldn't mock it because people said, Michelle, you did it, so you were a model.
I'm about to say, if you did it, you
did it. I was out. I was part of a troupe in New York, and we were out. I was going to like modeling lessons, and I was out there. We would do photo shoots and fashion shows and stuff. So I had a ball. I had so much fun doing it. I did it for fun, and I had fun. But when I was doing it, one point, I thought about doing the house that I live in right now has a huge backyard. It's like it's right by Martin's West, so it's their property. So it's like land. Yeah. So I was thinking of doing like a photo shoot under the trees and being like a gown on a lounging chair with like balls and stuff. And I plan to still one day do that. But
that was a dream last night. No, real talk. I had a dream last night where I had all these women with different issues in their life, and we all got together and did a photo shoot, and they wore colors to match whatever was going. And I was like, I ain't playing for this. I thought we were doing a lupus shoot, and I got really angry, and then I had got myself together and did the shoot. But anyway.
So we're gonna have to do the lupus and that one. That's a good one. Come on, Dyon.
Oh my gosh.
Gotta go with it.
So I gotta be playing sometimes. I don't be
for real. I really think God has a great sense of humor.
Yeah, God. I'm sorry, go ahead.
So, but I had this vision of doing that, and I never did it. Okay, I was gonna come out as they say. And I don't know, life got in the way, basically. Right. Okay, so let's fast forward. Here we are at this point in my life, and God brought that back to my mind. Wow. And what I was doing was I really wanted to expand on my hair business, so I had been doing Facebook Live a lot, right? And so, but the funny thing is, I think, to me, I thought it was such a contradiction. I feel like if I'm talking about my hair, I should be coming on talking about hair. But I kept talking about faith. I kept talking about what I was going through. I kept talking about, you can do it too. I talked about, I think one time I even talked about, we were going through the struggle with my father-in-law. He recently passed this summer from cancer. Oh, so yeah, thank you. So I talked about that. So I kept bringing up all these different situations, and I could never get to really talk about the hair. But somehow one day the Lord gave it to me in a way where I could talk about faith. I could talk about confidence and self-confidence and self-esteem, but show. The perfect example would be to show who I really am. Right. So to me, I feel almost like, I know you can relate to this. As Jamaicans, we would go out, like, I know my dad was like, you don't go out looking in the house any certain way. You have to look like you're awake, you're alive. Like, you can't just walk. The way the people walk around now, it's like
my mom would have been disgusted and I came out with my hair still twisted up this morning and a scarf. I was in a rush.
Right. We were not allowed to go outside the house with a scarf. You can't do that. So my point is that when I go home at night, like some of the wigs that I wear are removable per se. So like I could take this wig off when I get in the house and just chill and relax. Right. But if somebody I didn't know was coming to the door, I would like, I gotta run and put it on, right? And so that was part of the issue. I was like, after a while, I'm like, I'm tired of feeling like that. Right. I feel like I should be able to just be me. Right? And so God was like, no, you're going to do this, and you're going to let people know that this is not a joke. Wow. And actually, my plan was to actually take my wig off at the time, but that particular wig that day I had on was actually bonded through like safe wig bonding. So it was bonded, so I couldn't just like whip it off. Right. Mm-hmm. So I show pictures of myself as a bald woman, and I did not expect that I expected people to be blown away. I didn't expect the reactions that I was getting.
Because nobody knew. Yeah. Nobody knew.
So most people were like, I've known you for years. I've never known this. A lot of people were like, well, you're beautiful either way. And I wasn't really expecting that. And I think because when I look in the mirror, I feel like I see all everything is there. So I see all the insecurities. So I see, well, I got this spot over here and I got this going on. And I do have some hair, but it grows kind of like around.
We all have that. So like, we see our stuff. Like, we pick us apart more than others. Like, oh my gosh, your face is flawless. I'm like, you don't see all these pimples? Like, we and they're like, girl, no, we ain't see it till you brought it up.
Till you brought it up. Exactly. So then that was my whole thing. So I didn't expect to have such a positive impact. And I've had I find myself reaching out and working with and dealing with women. And I think, of course, it's easy for me to relate with women because I am a woman. Right. But I've even had guys at my church who've been like, you know what, Michelle, because of your testimony, I shaved my head bald and I'm like rocking the bald thing. And I'm sitting there like, mind blown. Amazing. Mind blown. But then I realized that this is not me. This is God. This is a God thing. And so I would say to any woman that out there is suffering from hair loss, whether it's lupus, whether it's alopecia, whether it's cancer, my desire by making the wigs is that I wouldn't just provide, oh, I made you a wig and that's the end of it. I want it to be that we're going to sit down and we're going to talk and we're going to see who you are and where you are in your life. And it's about mindset.
And it's providing support. I think that support piece is so important regardless of what you're going through and the experience that you're having. Having somebody there who understands what you're going through is so big. It helps with everything. Yeah. We got to wrap up in a couple of seconds, but I want you to tell the people, like, how they can get in touch with you, how they can possibly purchase the wigs or get a consultation or something that they can connect with you in regards to the wigs.
Well, I'm on all social media. So the name of my company is, and I'm going to spell it, but it's Luxe Hair by Michelle. So Luxe is Luxe. X-E. I don't know, I might have said it like a S, but it's X. L-U-X. So I'm on Facebook. I'm on there as Michelle Johnson, but I do have a Facebook page for my hair.
For Luxe, okay.
So it's Luxe.
And I'll put that in the drop down menu below this video as well, so that you can have all the details for that.
So Luxe Hair by Michelle for my Facebook, Luxe Hair by Michelle for Instagram. I am on Twitter as well, and I am going to be starting a YouTube channel, so you'll find me there soon.
I can't wait, yes. Birthing babies. Yes.
Not
real ones.
Not real ones. No, we're not doing all that. No more of those. For me anyway.
I do not want Mr. Johnson to call me up and like, what have you started? No, I'm not real baby. She birthed in YouTube and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I'm so excited for you, and I know that whatever is coming is going to be so much greater. In spite of what this brought you, it's going to be so much more that God is going to do from that. You know, when I was diagnosed with lupus, I thought it was the end all to be all, but I found out that that was God's way of using me to do even greater work. So I know the same thing. It's like, okay, it's alopecia, so what? He's going to use you to do even greater work from that. And so many people are going to be blessed from your wig business, and hopefully I get one this winter.
We'll stay tuned. We'll see how that happens.
Y'all will see it, because you know I'm going to rock it on here. Yes. I want to thank you so much for joining us, and I want to thank you all for tuning in once again to our weekly videos. Please do not forget to subscribe. Hit that subscribe button. Share this video with your friends and family. You might know someone who might be going through. Don't be afraid. You never know what their experience is like, so share it with them. Until next time, please continue to spread love. We thank you so much. Mwah.